Yep, we can see the screen.
Awesome. So today is the third session of AI Spark session series, and I'm gonna conduct a small session on supervised learning, an introduction for beginners. I covered supervised learning in the first session also, so here we'll go into a little bit deeper into uh, the the topic. Today's agenda is first we'll discuss what is supervised learning and there's what are the types of supervised learning. Then we'll discuss one type of supervised learning using a popular algorithm, and again for the other type, another popular algorithm. Then there's a small practical session, and I think we'll have exciting announcement at the near the end. So let's get started with this session. So, what is supervised learning? Can anyone tell me what you remember from the first session? What is supervised learning? Actually, it's on the screen. um, no one? Okay. So supervised learning is we are feeding a machine learning model with the input features as well as their output labels, label output values. So the model will create a map, some sort of a map to from the input features to output features to make prediction on new data that they receives. Okay, so here we can see the supervised learning process. First, we train the model using training data set with input features. There can be one, or there can be many input features, and a label, which is not also called as the outcome or the output. And first, we'll feed it to the machine learning model, and then we'll get a trained model on the data set. And then in the next phase, we'll make new predictions using the data the model haven't seen previously. So that's basically what supervised learning means. And there are two types of supervised learning mainly. First one is classification, and which is predicting the category or class of a input data. And it's outputting a concrete value, like a label or class. The regression is the other type. This outputs a continuous value like numbers. Okay, so these are basically the two types of supervised learning. And let's go into classification. Today I'm going to discuss about decision trees. In classification, there are many types of classification models, decision trees, support vector machine, and so on. So I picked the decision tree. You'll be able to see in the next slide. This is like a tree structure. I think everyone here knows what it's like tree structure. There are nodes. They are connected with branches or edges, like a tree basically. So these decision trees use yes/no question on features to go through the tree and find the correct label. So it's pretty easy to interpret. Like we can see how exactly the decisions are made, and as I mentioned, we can follow the path the from inputting the input and from the predicted output. And this also splits data as seed nodes and picks the best feature, meaning from the input features and the threshold, which is the value. I'll explain a bit more in the next slide to separate the classes more effectively. And in this, here is a decision tree on a very popular dataset called Iris dataset. This dataset is about classifying flowers based on their petal length, and some features like that. So in the we can see in the root, this root from the root node, it starts like asking a question whether the petal length is smaller or equal to, less than or equal to 2.45 centimeters. Then if based on the data, it's decided all the setosa flowers have smaller petal length, and all the setosa flowers are classified correctly from one step. Then it goes for if the answer is no for the particular input value, then it goes further on the right side. In that node, it asks against the petal width. If no, it correctly identifies the flowers as virginica. Then if the answer is yes, it goes further and so on. You can see it correctly identifies the other flower types as well. So that's basically a decision tree. In the each node, it makes a decision on the input value provided, and it ultimately predicts the label of the input. So we are going on to the regression. We'll discuss regression with linear regression. Linear regression is uh, like, I think you all remember uh, linear equations we did in A levels or O levels, right? So this is what pretty much linear regression is. It tries to draw a best fit line. Uh, mean it tries to draw a straight line that passes through the data points to predict continuous values. Here this is the slope, and y is the predicted output, m is the slope, and x is the input value, and c is the intercept. I mean, if I say like this, most of us can't get a clear idea, so we can see here's a picture of it. So you can see these blue dots are the uh, data points in a data points given in the data set. So here we have on the x-axis are the input values in house size, and on the y-axis there are output values. We try in this model we try to predict the price of a house by giving the house size. So on this red line, we can on this red line is drawn to base go tries to go through the all the data points and tries to minimize the distance from the data points to the red line. If we want, so that you by using this line, we can try to predict new prices for new data points. Suppose we have a data point around price around 4500 for 4500 rupees. So rupees, let's say dollars. So it's around here, right? So we have to just go on the go to the go along the x-axis, and let's say it's around here. So we just have to get the price. Sorry, I made mistakes. Our input is square feet, right? So let's say we have a house with 4,500 square feet. We want to predict the price of it. We go along the y-axis, and we uh, cross the line predicted. Sorry, cross the line at around this point. Then we try to get the value of on the y-axis there. So let's say around uh, $480,000, right? So that's how we predict continuous values using linear regression. Think it's all up to clear now. So now a small practical session. So I think many of you guys have heard about Kaggle. This is a platform for data scientists and AI engineers. This using this we can host dataset models, and it even provides us competitions. So if you are interested, you can look into that. And I created a dataset, a notebook in this platform. So for those who you don't know what are Python notebook is, it is like a uh, IDE with the code and as well as the markdown provided in the same place. You can write code and you can write notes to other people. So you only have to share this with with whoever you want to. They can see the code as well as the markdown. So these are just basic imports. sklearn is a pretty popular library among AI engineers. It provides basic as well as advanced AI models. It also provides the dataset which is the iris dataset we are going to use. So let's execute this. Also we can execute by cell. So suppose we have written a large code and there's a mistake, so we don't have to re-execute hundreds of lines of code. We can just execute the uh, cell that is this cell with the error. See, I haven't imported. So I'm gonna load the flower dataset I spoke of earlier. I think it's all good. And okay, so you guys, if you don't know NumPy and Pandas, if you are interested in AI and machine learning stuff, you should also look into those packages as well, because they are very important for processing data. And NumPy is like basically a number processing package, and Pandas we can use to see data in like tabular form like this is I'm using pandas to give the first five rows in the data set. So we can see here this sepal length, sepal width, petal width, and species. Species is the type of what is the type of the flower. This is the output, and these are going to be the input values. Then since we have the data set or uh, in our notebook, and then the next step is splitting the data into training and testing. So there's a rule of thumb, like we divide the data set into uh, 80 to 20 ratio, between 80% for training and 20% for testing. This can be changed, like 75 for training, 25 for testing. So let's split the data set, and this is just creating a decision tree without training it. We are not still training, just declaring a tree. So this is where we train the data set. This is where train the tree, machine learning model on the data set, and we use the testing data set, testing input values to make prediction and assign them to a prediction variable to so we can calculate the accuracy of the data set. I think you guys know what is the accuracy means, right? So accuracy is the correct the percentage of correctly predicted values and the from on the actual labels. Our decision tree has correctly predicted 96.7 labels. So that is a pretty good output. If and then this is like a report on a detailed result like precision, recall, F1 score, like that. I think we don't need to go that deep into uh, this. If you are interested, you can look up these words, what they mean. And then we can also create a plot of the decision tree, how it made this decision. So it is not like magic. We can see how the tree decide to divide the data. So like the diagram I showed in presentation, it first calculate the petal length and then finds that Setosa class had a less smaller petal length and it divided it earlier, then it can focus on the other two classes. So this is pretty much it on classification. If you guys have any questions, you can stop me at any point and ask. Okay, or at the end of the session. Let's go to the regression part. Okay, so another good thing about this Kaggle notebook is we can also directly add datasets in Kaggle. As I showed you earlier, there are massive number of dataset in Kaggle. So if you go here, there are lots of types of dataset. So if we want to add any of these, we can directly add them here. I added the housing prices dataset for that's because that is all we gonna use. And let's import the necessary packages. Then let's read the CSV file to load the data. And so we can see the uh, columns in the dataset. There's like, I think there's 10 columns in the dataset, one being the output column and others are the input values. So let's try to find whether there's any null values in the dataset, because pre-processing is a very good step. It's a necessary step to do in when creating a AI model. So looks like there's 207 rows that doesn't have a total bedroom value. So let's remove those values from the data set. We look, and then to make the session easier, we are just going to use one input feature, and the output feature is going to be the price of the value. The input feature is going to be the income of the person in the house. Okay, and as in the previous example, we are going to split the data into training and testing. Then we are going to train the model, and just like that the model is trained. Okay, then we are going to calculate the metrics of the model, evaluate the model, which whether the model is doing poorly or greatly. So mean squared error is how it is a metric of how we calculate the accuracy, or evaluate the model, regression models. This is like mathematical stuff. Basically it calculates the uh, distance, like distance between the line and the actual data points. Suppose the data point just give me a sec. Okay, so suppose this is a data point, right? A real data point, and the predicted value is going to be around here, right? It's always going to be on the line. So the distance between these two is the error or the residual. So this is actually calculating those errors and squaring. So we always get a positive number, and it divides by the number of samples in the data set. And so these are the values, what I explained is mean squared error. Root mean squared error is we take the root of the mean squared error. And so this is the linear equation like I showed earlier, like this equation. This is the linear equation for house price calculating. This 41,000 value is the C value, which is the intercept value. This is, and sorry, I made a mistake. This 41,000 value is the M value, the slope value, and we multiplied by the income, which is the input value, and for we add 45 something to the value we get from it, and we get the house price. So this is like a linear equation, and then we plot we get the diagrams of the uh, predicted prices and the actual prices. This data set is actually showing some crazy values, like many values on 500,000 line, and there are some outliers as well. So as you can see, we didn't do any pre-processing for this before creating the model. We should do pre-processing to remove outliers and find out what is going on with the data before creating training a model. And so this is the predicted versus actual prices. Actual prices on the x-axis and the predicted prices on the y-axis. And so that's basically the what I think. As beginners, we all should know about supervised learning. So okay, so that was the practical session.